Welcome one, welcome all to the Montpellier GP in France. We are here after our one and only day of practice. We did 3 runs of practice today. I just want to say this track walk is courtesy of Nemo Racing, because without Nemo Racing, I would not be here this weekend. So thank you to John for having me out. Now, this is a mostly permanent track. Most of the track's been here for probably a decade or more. They did change one lane on the far side for the warm-up earlier this year. That was like the only change for this year. They also added some like an oil to the track, which has allowed it to groove a little deeper, I think, and a little bit more traction than maybe in years past. But the guys that are local, the guys that were here for the warm-up, it's a huge advantage. So I'm here having fun, trying to find my pace in my 3 little runs I got to do. But anyways, let's do a track walk. And this isn't necessarily going to be my line because I don't think my line's the fastest yet. But our start-finish line is actually out here, kind of in the middle of the track, which is nice. This is a cool feature because your number can be called and you can come into pit lane. So this is the finish line. So if you see races all of a sudden they're battling to the end, it's not down the straight. It's right around this corner. So we'll start here, this section here. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna start on the straightaway though, just because it's easier to show the line coming up to the finish line here. So we're gonna go down the straight. As we're approaching the straightaway, we're out about 3/4. You can see the black line. The black line is kind of going to show you the fast line here. I'm going to show you some of the undulations, the off cambers on this track. There's quite a few that you don't see per se on the video. Make this track very difficult, especially to learn. There's actually a little drop off here. Kind of, if you're too hard on the throttle, you can actually lift your front end up a little bit. But anyways, we're coming down here full speed. Hit the brakes. I still haven't hit this quite right yet, but slow down enough to be able to carry this corner. Now this is one of the sections they changed for this year, so people that were here last year, they're also struggling with this a little bit, trying to learn it. But you can see it, you almost want to keep your momentum going, because if you squared it up too much, that lane ends and actually jogs right. And this is all concrete out here, so if you hit that, that hurts as well. I'm almost hitting about here, and it feels like I'm jumping this, really. But you're trying to land out in this gully here, and then however you land here depends how much lift you're going to get off this next one. So if you land on the inside, you're going to get quite the jump and landing on the face of that. If you're out here, it's completely smooth. But most guys are kind of in the middle, and this whole thing's kind of huck-a-buck. Your car's just kind of bouncing, and depending on how you hit it, suspension's really working here. So I'll show you the height difference there. Anyways, you're launching that, landing out here, wherever you may land, and again, there's not the smoothest. So if you land into that, that can really buck your car up a little bit. But so trying to land, I'm almost landing up here a little bit higher, it seems. Again, it depends how you hit that. Just not easy, guys. This is not an easy track just to come in here and learn when these guys have had a lot of track time on it, but it's a lot of fun. Now this is kind of like a bank corner, but there's different levels of banking, and I'm finding myself kind of riding up about here, but there's also an inside tighter bank too. You guys, I'm just not comfortable quite yet. But a lot of guys that I've seen that are doing really well at it, just come in here, nice arc, and are able to stay just nice and smooth, probably right about here. And then sharp left here to finish this off. Another different thing for me is these corners. You can just easily hit this corner and just flip right over. So in the cars, to me, I get a little bit of a front end dump on these corners because it's kind of under braking, or just like a sudden sharp corner that you're trying to do, because it's more than a 90. You're actually going about 110 degrees back. And just set up things I want to change, probably stiffen up the front a little bit, maybe on oil, but we'll work on that for tomorrow. Now we have the sweeping corner. Looks innocent enough. There's a drop off here, and then this whole thing is kind of off camber. So you're really wanting to stay kind of middle up on it. And now the difficult thing, I've only stood on the right part here. I haven't got to stand over here yet, but this is kind of blind. This jump right here completely blocks most all this section here. This tree does a good job of blocking back there. So it's kind of a trust thing that your car is here, and then trust that you're staying tight enough to this, at least where I've been standing. I need to try to stand other spots if I can tomorrow. I want to try to scoot over a little bit closer to here so I can see this better. I'm easily just on the throttle a little too hard and push out, but I was able to do okay in that last run. Keep it a little bit tighter. So again, you just want to basically stay on this pipe or just a little bit off right here, and where this dark spot is. Get on the brakes and kind of ride this curb. The curb won't hurt you too bad unless you're too far inside on the drop off here. You'll see you can just tip right over on that, but if you're just right on that curb, the car just drops right down. Get on the throttle again, and then make this left-hander. Now I keep pushing a little bit here, but they put this white line here for a purpose. That's kind of like your sweet spot of where you want to hit this at. If you're too far inside, it's easy to jump on the inside of the track. If you're too far out, a lot of times you don't clear it, you case it, and it's also easy to kind of catch an edge and flip. So if you can hit this just right, it's not too bad. Obviously you're turning left going up it, but the Astro kind of affects how the car jumps. It kind of deadens the jump a little bit too. But if you do all that right, you're landing right here, the sweet spot. Give it a nice full throttle here and bleeding out to about halfway, maybe 40% of the lane out. So you a little bit wide here, and then you really start to arc it in. Start to tighten it up, get a little bit, bleed back out a little bit, and then the swimming pool they call it. So trying to get pretty close to this pipe here. As soon as you get to the blue or just before it, give a quick flick left and right, and then get the back end to step out, because this is like ice for the most part. Some tires, just ran the AKA Clay Typos, and last run they had a little bit better grip on this, but you can see the shine there. They spent some time polishing it this weekend, or leading up to this race, to try to make it slick again. So you want to get that slide started, get that back end coming. You just do a nice little power drift here, and you're just sliding, and then you don't want to give too much throttle because you just have more wheel spin. Look at that correct modulation of the throttle, and you're trying to hit about halfway to 3/4 out. And this is like a rubber takeoff here. And that'll basically get you just to the downside of that. So show that little step here. And the ramp here is completely blind from the top as well, just so you know. But anyways, you hit that 3/4 out and you're angling in, you're trying to land right about here in the sweet spot. Get a little whip in the air and try to get it already set going into this right-hander. Don't want to hit too hard, that's concrete. But get a nice little landing here, rider, and kind of jump this at an angle. You don't want to get too much air, but you're going to get a little bit, it's pretty steep. And then here's a big off-camber section. You don't want to miss and go off here, so you really want to stay on this top line. So it's a big thing of trying not to get too much throttle. It's easy to pull too much throttle and be out here in this midsection. And I'll really show you this. It's a pretty big difference all the way around. So you really, if you can just stay really tight, nice and slow, that's the fast line. So all about your throttle modulation there. And then aiming at this one. Now this blue curb, you can pretty much run over it. You just got to be careful. There's edges here. If you catch like a rear tire in the edge or catch the pipe a little bit here, it could easily flip you over. But in general, you just want to quickly do this 180. Get on the throttle again. You're bleeding out, and then this is to finish the race. This is where you would finish at. But for our track walk purposes, you bleed out to about 33%, and then you really rake on the wheels to the right. It's very easy to overshoot this, push out, and there's some dust out here this weekend. But really hard to the right. Don't hit this curb. If you hit this thing, you flip right over. I'll show you that one. That's gonna be a killer. So I'm trying to avoid that one. If you hit it just right, you're really close to it. Come out just a little bit, get onto the pavers. Pretty cool. All of a sudden you have grip. So you go from, like the blue swimming pool slickness, you got the pavers, which are pretty high grip, and I guess, we're supposed to have rain. If it wasn't supposed to rain, this grip gets really, really high. But we'll see how it ends up for us this weekend. Anyways, stay tight to this one. Do a quick flick of the wheels to the left to avoid this curb, and then a quick flick to the right to get up here. And then as you're on the slickness, you flick it to the left, bring that rear end around and kind of slide up past that corner. Now I guess this didn't used to have this curbing here, and people would break wishbones or arms here all the time. So now it has a little bit of a curbing. So if you hit that, it can kind of launch you. So far I've been avoiding it pretty good myself, but so right here, fast line, if you're going fast, you can slide up here, slide just past it, get into the track right here, launch out to about there. And it's basically this full noodle right here. You land your full noodle and you give it a quick flick to the left, the angle for the straightaway, trying to avoid pit lane killer. There's guys that run up on this thing, go tumbling all the way into pit lane. But quick flick left and onto the straightaway you go. So that's a lap around the Montpellier GP track. Way more deceiving, way more difficult than it probably looks on video. But let's show you a driver's stand view here. Kind of show you maybe some of the blind spots that you might not realize by just watching at home. So in general, here's where I have been standing. You see going on here. This thing, it looks straight, but it's not at all. You're totally forcing yourself to jump off to the right here. Go around the back, and then this, like I said, that jump blocks that completely. And then this, you're just trusting that you're tight enough. It's like you gotta let off the throttle just enough to keep it tight enough here. And hit the brakes at the right time to slow down for that. And then other than that, those are your main tough spots from this side of the track. And then let's go view it from the right side of the driver's stand. Hopefully I can stand down here a little bit more tomorrow. Definitely I think it'd help that. I think where it would help me the most would be right in here. Just being able to find my braking point better on this. And I think everything else would be okay. So, but really fun track, really beautiful city. It's a university town, touristy city, I guess in the summer especially. But they have a wonderful track here, and you know, there's something to the permanent track. You know, it's hard for somebody like me that's just coming from overseas, getting 3 runs of practice on it and trying to compete against these guys out here all the time. But at the same time, it's a big challenge, doing my best, having fun at it, and hey, if anything, it's, you know, it's practice for coming again next year or something, you know. But enjoying my time. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you can tune in. I don't know exactly the website they have the scoring on. I know they have scoring. I believe the No Name RC podcast is posting all the scoring, so feel free to check that out. And we'll catch you guys next time from France. See you later. Bye-bye.